Hey, it's Shannon May, and I hope you're having a great day. And if you're planning on running a pin Kickstarter anytime soon, I might make that day just a little bit better. So, I've had a bunch of requests recently to talk about how I run successful Kickstarters, so I thought I'd just spill my thoughts out into the video sphere. A bit of background: when I'm not researching new art spells and making new videos, I love designing enamel pins. I appreciate on a molecular level that they appear so simple sometimes in their construction, but there are incredible complexities in vector design, and the thought that needs to go into creating a design perfect for pins. I've run 2 successful campaigns so far, and a bunch of mini pre-order campaigns, and I'm working on my 3rd big Kickstarter at the moment, so I thought this would be a good time to share. Crowdfunding is, in my opinion, one of the best tools for an indie creative looking to create merchandise, not just for pins. It provides opportunities for those that have amazing ideas that other people are interested in, but just don't have the funds to do everything up front, which is, unfortunately, the reality of most artists, let's be honest. If you succeed, you have the funds, the orders, and the interest to make something of your product line. And if the campaign doesn't reach its goal, then yes, you will lose your time and maybe a bit of your ego, but then you know you either have to up your game, rethink your strategy, maybe the idea wasn't the best seller you thought it was, or maybe luck just wasn't with you that month. It happens. A failed Kickstarter can still be a learning success. I mentioned Kickstarter specifically during this video because that's what I'm most familiar with, but most of this talk will apply to any crowdfunding site, for example Indiegogo, or even if you're putting together your own crowdfunding front end. Which leads me to my first talking point. The big draw for crowdfunding platforms is that they have a pre-established user base, and this is especially true for enamel pins, as a lot of collectors, including myself, browse Kickstarter for new releases that they'd like to own. If you already have a big following, which is great, this might not matter as much for you, but for my first Kickstarter, this was super key as I was basically unknown. However, there is a catch. You do need to drive initial traffic to Kickstarter for it to flourish, especially with the sheer amount of other would-be entrepreneurs using the platform. But Shannon, you cry, why do I have to drive traffic if they've got this user base you just told me about? Well, Kickstarter's search algorithm, from my own experiences, will often promote campaigns that seem more likely to succeed. After all, Kickstarter don't get their cut unless the campaign actually meets its goal. Things like amount of pledges made, percentage of your funding completed, the speed that your campaign is gaining new pledges. These all appear to factor into results of Kickstarter searches and make you more likely to be found. And being found makes this effect snowball. The algorithm promotes you, which means more people pledge, which means the algorithm promotes you, so on and so on. Now, getting this initial boost could be from your friends banding together to back your project, or maybe your social media following, or maybe you even want to try running a few social media ads on your first day. Basically, the first day of pledges and activity is very important, which creates a bigger sense of urgency and, unfortunately from experience, can create quite a bit of stress. Which is the opposite kind of stress to running your own crowdfunding site. An external pre-order site will not only need you to fully set it up yourself, but will need more constant promotion, but it can be spread out over a longer period of time and you're getting the traffic direct to your own website. There's less immediate stress on getting that big day one influx. However, constantly driving traffic to your own website is going to be more difficult than Kickstarter longer term, though possibly more rewarding. Both because Kickstarter already has a trust base of users, and your own website might use a pre-order system that people aren't familiar with, which can turn people away. I currently run my single pre-orders through my Shopify website, and they're purchased just like regular products, so I try to make it as simple for the end user as I can. And if you're interested, I have a pre-order for the most adorable 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗀 pin running right now, so go check it out. But honestly, I'd recommend if you don't have an existing fan base, you shouldn't start out with external pre-orders, as it's going to be very difficult to get eyes on your work. Secondly, I'd like to touch on the importance of picking a niche. Having a collection of pins with vastly different feels just isn't going to work in most cases. I currently make pins in the tabletop RPG and fantasy genre, as it's a niche I know very well because I'm in it. So, I'm in 3 games a week at the moment, but that's by the by. Maybe you really enjoy drawing pastel bunnies, or you're heavy into goth culture. Create what you enjoy and what you know. When I was designing, I kept asking myself, would I buy this? And the answer was resoundingly, yes, I would. And I have my pins hanging on my wall to prove it. My third piece of advice to you is do your budget math, and also secure a manufacturer before you do a pin Kickstarter. Due to the processes involved, the sheer cost of setting up these processes, and a bunch of other reasons that will take too long to go into now, you'll most likely be outsourcing your enamel pins from overseas, usually China. If a company says they produce enamel pins in the UK or the USA, they are very likely to be a middleman and are not creating the product themselves. I'm not saying don't use a middleman, they have their upsides. Just be aware that a US pin company does not always equal US made pins. Anyway, get some quotes, look at some reviews. You don't have to get samples if you have hard vouchers from people you know, but I'd recommend it, especially if you're using an unproven manufacturer. You don't have to commit, but you need at least some kind of baseline of the prices you're looking at for your Kickstarter. Undercharging for your Kickstarter is a dangerous mistake that unfortunately a lot of first-time Kickstarting artists make. I've seen it happen so many times where the artist is left without enough money to actually post the merchandise because they've made a mistake with their budget math. For this reason, I always factor in a buffer amount to my Kickstarter total of 10 to 20% to help cover any unforeseen costs. Now, budgeting is key, of course, but few backers are going to be commending you for your fabulous math skills. It's just one of the many hats you're going to have to wear. What they will praise you for, and base their decisions on, is your front page. Always make sure information and marketing copy on your pins is clear and transparent. Size, price, plating type, and bonuses are 4 of the most important details. Size, as some pin collectors specifically collect small or large pins. Price, because people want to know how much they're going to pay, of course. Plating type, because people have preferences and some people have allergies to certain plating like silver or gold. And finally, bonuses, because people want to know if there are extra incentives for them backing or pre-ordering a product, rather than waiting for them to be available after the campaign. For Kickstarter, these bonuses will come in different tiers. Make sure to include real pictures if you have samples, and if you don't, create mock-ups. These can be as simple as just the artwork you've already produced. You can mock them up to look like they're metal, or you can even go that extra mile with shiny animations and a Kickstarter campaign video. While videos aren't a must-have for enamel pin Kickstarters, as in the end it's all about the pin designs you've created, I feel they really help you to stand out, and I'd say going the extra mile is worth it. I didn't do a campaign video for my first 2 Kickstarters, but I'm working on one for the third, and though I haven't deployed it yet, it just feels 10 times more engaging than just showing people some pictures. Speaking of pictures and media, social media campaigns. I often see during a crowdfunding campaign that the artist will post a couple of times and just sort of hope they get seen through all the noise of social media. They don't want to annoy their friends or their followers. Well, here's a pro art wizard tip. Because of the way social media works, your followers probably don't even see half of what you put out there, because there's just so much stuff being posted at any one time. And while that's a bit depressing, you can use that fact to convince yourself to post more, knowing that you're honestly not annoying anyone. I posted about my campaigns about 2 to 3 weeks before they launched, building up an email list so that I could contact them about the campaign day one. I created 30 social media posts, one for every day of my campaign before I even launched. This was so that I'd have a media presence at least once every single day, usually more. I even had some people message me thanking me for the reminder when they saw my post close to the end of the campaign. On the last day of the campaign, I posted hourly, which may have been a bit excessive in hindsight, but a lot of people like to back late in the campaign when they know it's going to succeed, and this last day countdown really helped ramp up the excitement. This leads me to a tip for timed crowdfunding specifically. You're going to get the most backers on the first and the last day, and you should be trying to take full advantage of that. Whatever you're doing for the rest of your campaign, ramp it up on your first and last day. The first day is a big release day that you can post about. It's all incredibly exciting. And the last day is backers' last chance to get a hold of your product till it gets a retail release. If it ever does, it might be limited edition. And some prefer to keep their pin sales just to Kickstarters. Don't be scared to be excited about your own campaign. Even if you haven't been fully funded yet, there is always a chance on the last day. And when the campaign is over, take a moment to breathe, of course, and then get on sending out forms to find out what pins people want and their addresses, all of that stuff. One of the upsides to running a campaign from your own site is you can collect these details in advance of your pre-order period, but with most crowdfunding sites, you have to wait till the end of the campaign. Remember to update your backers with regular progress posts or emails, even if things are going a bit wrong. But you just got to be transparent. That's really important with crowdfunding. And when the pins finally arrive and you've quality checked them, time for the final hurdle. Fulfilment. It's going to take you longer than you think, trust me. For my first Kickstarter, I took a whole week off from my day job to package everything and write individual thank you messages for every backer. Everything went out on time, but oh my god. If you're not the manual repetitive labour type, you might want to consider hiring an outside fulfillment service, or at least popping on some music. I don't have any recommendations on an outside service as I haven't used one myself and it will eat into your funds, so plan for that. But it will save you a bunch of time and possible RSI. And that about wraps up this little guide based on my Kickstarter experiences. I really hope it helps with your foray into the wonderful world of pin crowdfunding, and if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below. If you like this video and want more 𝗏𝗏𝗃 content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video. Goodbye for now, art friends.